Yeah, this is like the most bizarre thing. Now, okay, so what is it that's mentioned? No, what is that? 7, so if I go back to the new class, there's only 7 people there.
Oh, I see her.
Out Aaron Miller in there, but yet you're right. I don't know. Yeah, that's why. I grew up with
I don't see.
Or do I want to see if we accept?
I pledge allegiance to the flag Please join me in reading our mission statement. To unconditionally nurture our students to be successful, proud, and prepared to thrive. Donna, could you go ahead and do a roll call, please?
Present. Here.
Here. Before we go into the agenda, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Amy for a brief presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Mr. Dave Shermer to come up for a second. First of all, I'd like to thank Dave for his 40-plus years in our school district. He's touched many lives and taught many things. But one of the things, if you know Dave, he taught real-life lessons to his students. And so when they think back to their high school years, they think him and how they're using something he taught them now in the life that they're leading. He's been a teacher, an AD, a coach, IT here at CL for 40-plus years. And he has decided to step down from the board, as you know, and I don't blame him because I know he has twin grandbabies coming very soon, and he already has 3. Oh my goodness, 3 already. So he's going to be spending a lot of time with them. And something you may not know about Dave is he's a motorcycle rider. So we as a board got you a nice gift that I hope that you will use on your travels this summer on your motorcycle.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been my honor and my pleasure to serve you. Thank you very much. I consider you guys all terrific. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Dave. I forgot to read this at the beginning. This meeting will be live streamed on our website at www.cla.net beginning at 6:30 p.m. Public comments will only be taken during the public comment section. You must be physically present in the auditorium to offer your comments. What I'd like to do at this point, the suggestion was made and I think it was a good one. I'd like to move up items new business A and B, old business A and B, and do those now so that we can get the new board members seated and that they would have an opportunity to then look through their packet of material before we start voting on the items that immediately follow. Does anyone have any objection to doing? Not hearing any objection, we're going to move to old business, item A. Would the candidate for the school board position from Region 2 please come forward? Is Mr. Louder here? Mr. Louder. Okay. All right. Mr. Boozer, I'm going to ask you guys some follow-up questions very quickly. I understand, Mr. Boozer, you submitted your petition to be on the ballot. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you. You can stay right there, actually. I got another question for you. As a follow-up to your interview that we had last time, can you please give us just a brief summary or recap for the whole board as to you want to be appointed to the school board?
Yes, let me readjust this just a little bit here. Good evening, everyone. Just to recap, I would like to be considered as a candidate here for the school board because I have a daughter in first grade, and I think it's very important to have parents represented on the board here. And I just have an overall concern about the well-being of CL as a whole, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Jameson, would you come forward? It's my understanding you were candid with us last time that you did not intend to put your name on the ballot and you have not done so, correct?
That's correct.
Same question for you. As a follow-up to your a couple weeks ago, can you give us a recap of why you want to be appointed to the school board?
Yes, thank you. Pardon me. Having had a couple weeks to rethink everything, there's 3 items I'd actually like to share with the board tonight. First, considering how I could help the board. I would like to offer my nearly 20 years of experience to assist with an investment plan. Why do we need an investment plan? Hopefully you all know we have over $800,000 from an estate that we received a few years ago. These funds are designated for a specific area, and we need to look at those resources as a powerful tool to help our students. We should have a plan that looks to protect the asset while using the interest gained from it. Done properly, it could be a tremendous advantage for our students for years to come. Secondly, I think we should be actively looking toward another building or addition for a gymnasium, whatever else it can house. This discussion began a number of years ago with a former superintendent, and it seemed to discontinue when he left. That process would be extensive, and I'd be happy to help that, as I've previously worked on the planning side of projects like that. Finally, and I think most importantly, tonight's decision is a 10-month decision. This is not a 3-year decision to fulfill a term. To that end, I think the fairest outcome for tonight is to appoint someone that is not running in the primary election, with all due respect to Mr. Boozer and Mr. Louder. This would ensure that the current school board does not show favoritism by potentially endorsing someone. this appointment is at best a placeholder situation. You can show our community that you're not trying to influence the primary with tonight's appointment. And I'm gonna jump ahead here. There's only 2 people running that are up for this position, and a third person, Kathy Henry, that's on your board. So we have 3 people running for 2 open positions. For those of you that know me, I know you know that I would be the first one to say, if Mr. Boozer, for example, and Ms. Henry were the only 2 running for this position, I would say, give Mr. Boozer, let him get a head start. But that wouldn't be fair to Mr. Louder and vice versa, alone Kathy sitting up there. So I would say, in my opinion, you should choose myself or Robin. I'm not giving any, am I correct? Myself or Robin. The difference being, Robin's a teacher, I'm a business person. Both those things are great, just depends on what you want. I feel like I bring a lot to the table here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I do a follow-up question?
Sure, go ahead.
And I didn't ask you this, Mr. Booth, because you are running. If you are appointed as a board member, and let's say we do have you on a committee, we're in the middle of a project, you mentioned going yourself, be willing to stay on that committee as a private individual to help see that project through?
I would, because the 2 items that I mentioned, especially the investment committee, is really something that's right up my alley. I deal with a lot of people and fundraising and assets and things like that right now, let alone my personal investments. So, yeah, I think you need to bring people to the table that have a basis knowledge for that. Thanks, Dave.
Mrs. Henry? And I believe you've confirmed it, but just to make sure everyone can, you decided not to put your name on the ballot, correct?
Yes, I've chosen not to, yes.
Okay. Same question for you. As a follow-up to your interview a couple of weeks ago, can you give us a recap of why you want to be appointed school board?
Sure. I feel as a graduate of CL, as a parent of 2 kids that go to CL currently, and as a teacher, that I just have a different perspective to offer. And I feel I'm very open-minded, and I listen, and I feel that I can come in without an agenda and be open to everything that's to us. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. And I believe Dave's going to ask you the same follow-up question.
Same question, Robin, I have, Larry. Do you want me to repeat it?
No,
Okay.
yeah, I would be absolutely more than willing to sit on a committee just as an individual, just to see something through to the end, absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. Did any other board members have any other questions they want to candidates? Okay. All right, we're going to proceed on to do the same process we did before. If you look in your folder, you got the blue tally sheet with the candidates listed. As it indicates on your sheet, you want to list them in the order in which you want us to vote on them, because as we learned last time, we have to have 5 votes to seat somebody, and as soon as we have the 5 votes, we're done voting. So there will be no more voting after we have 5 votes. So we need to establish an order for the voting. So please fill out your sheet and pass them around. What we were talking about, so the public understands, is apparently he had a medical issue in his family, and he has indicated that he is on his way here. He was, of course, notified and planned to be here, but there was an issue, and he's on his way. So we anticipate his arrival here shortly. Is that correct, Amy? In other words, we think he still wants to be considered for the seat, and we'll treat it accordingly. Okay, we have tallied the preferences, and we're going to vote in this order. Larry Jameson is going to be voted first, and if there's not 5 votes, then Robin Henry would be voted second. If there's not 5 votes, then Christopher Boozer will be voted. If there's not 5 votes, then it would be David Lauder. The board members understand the order, and we understand that if your favorites is down the list, you need to vote no on the first one, even if you may otherwise like them, because you're going to get there. Everybody got that? Roger, can you hear everything okay? Thank you to Max and Tina and everybody else. Okay. Item A on consideration for the approval to appoint Larry Jameson as the Region 2 Limestone Township Strattonville Borough School Board Director to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of David Shermer. Donna, roll call vote, please.
Yes. Joe Belli?
Yes.
Dave Eggleton?
Yes.
Kathy Henry? Yes. Amy Parker?
Yes.
Roger Powell?
Yes.
Gary Stoll?
That's 6-1, so Mr. Jameson will be appointed to the board. Thank you, candidates who applied, and for your time. Larry, would you please come up here? I need you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you. Welcome to the board. Here, Mr. Jameson, here is your packet of information. Either corner, you can sit in the corner next to Steph or next to Roger. Pick your poison. And I'm going to mix things all up. The suggestion was made to address item C on old business, just to finish out all the old business so that that individual can also be released as well. Board members, if you look, item C is a modification of a motion that we passed in February concerning the hiring of Mark Graff as an independent contractor. The motion is to modify our approval to hire him as an employee.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion second. Do I have any discussion? Questions, comments? Everybody understand what they're voting for? Roll call vote, please, Donna.
Dave Eggleton?
Yes.
Kathy Henry? Yes. Amy Parker?
Yes.
Roger Powell?
Yes.
Gary Stoll?
Yes.
Rebecca Allison? Yes. Joe Belli?
Yes.
Larry Jameson?
I'd like to have Amy just introduce Mark so everybody can put a face with the name.
Come on up, Mark, if you come to the microphone. This is Mark Graff. Mark comes highly respected to our community. He actually lives near our community, very near. He is going to start as our school police officer on Monday. And he has been a school police officer prior to this at a couple of other school districts. And he is very excited to be a part of CL here starting Monday. He is a retired policeman, state policeman, and he can tell you more things about himself, and we just wanted to introduce you to Mark. Look a little bit different on Monday because of a CL logo shirt and other things on, and the badge that Mr. Shermer gave us. There were 2 police badges that were used years ago for the police office, the school police officers. So we have those, and Mark said those are perfect. We'll wear those. So, Mark?
Hi, everyone. I met some of you when I was here, seems like just yesterday, but it's already been almost 2 months. So I'm ready to get started, can't wait. It's going to be just the end of the year, so it won't be here too long, and then we'll be a summer. But I look forward to getting a good start, and then look forward to a full year. Hopefully we get a full year next year. But I'll take any questions you have for me now, or the public. Anybody have any questions for me? No? All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'm going to go back and go in order. So we're back on the front page of your agenda. Item Roman numeral 5, resolution to adopt the minutes from the February 10 special voting meeting combined with the February 17 work session regular voting meeting. Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion carried. Item 6, review and approval of the February general fund treasurer reports. Motion, do I have a second? Second, thank you. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried. Item 7, review and approval of the activities accounts report. I have a motion, do I have a second? I have a second, any question or discussion? I believe it was emailed last week, I believe. Is that correct?
No, that's okay. So we got it last time.
Oh, did we? Okay. A motion and a second on item 8. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Motion passed. Okay. He does not. You noted the abstention. Okay. And I don't believe we have any budget transfers. Is that correct, Stephanie? No budget transfers. Approve the March general fund bill schedule.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Motion made and a second. Second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passed. Communications, Riverview Intermediate Unit 6.
Tonight,
Microphone, please. Thank you.
Sorry. Sorry. Item H on our agenda tonight is the consideration to approve the Riverview Intermediate Unit Number 6 General Operating Budget. So we'll be making that motion and suggest that we do approve their general operating budget.
I noticed it was lower than last year, is that correct?
It is
Was
lower.
that a fight or was that a
No.
easy? No? Clarion Career Center Representative, Joe.
No report.
Legislative Representative, Gary.
Couple things. They're trying to introduce another bill for charter schools to reform it, so we're hoping that will get through. They are making some changes for substitute teachers. They're trying to eliminate the expiration deadlines and to let the substitutes work a lot longer in one position. Move those in because there's such a shortage. And so That is going to be House Bill 412 from Representative Glenn from Cumberland, and that's being pushed. Another thing that came out this week in the news and NPR and New York Times, I also saw it on TV, there was a study done by the Clinical Infectious Disease that the CDC is going to consider changing the seating in classrooms from 6 feet to 3 feet. Because there was a study done in the school districts in Massachusetts, and they found that there was no difference of kids sitting 3 feet or the amount of cases of kids sitting 6 feet. So the CDC is planning, we're hoping to do that. The World Health Organization, their recommendation is 3.3 meters and or 3.3 feet. 1 meter, something like that. Most of the European countries are going by that already. So that was good news. So did you want to add something, Amy, to that?
I do want to add that PD, we had a Zoom meeting today with the IU 6 superintendents, and we had asked about PDE, if they would be adopting that, and they said that is the plan. The PDE would adopt that as well. They said happen in about a week.
Thank you, Gary. CLAEA representative.
Good evening. Thank you for including CLAEA. This week, CL implemented not only 5-day in-person learning, but also some changes in presentation of our remote instruction. The revisions to our educational plan have impacted all our learners. We are, as always, professionally working to adapt to these changes. While CL's teaching and learning is now 5 days per week in person, there should not be an assumption that the need for technology has been minimized. The need is still great. Teachers and students alike are still in a holding pattern waiting for Chrome to be distributed. Just to mention a few needs, we do annual assessments, remediation and enrichment activities that include district-funded subscriptions, and research projects that include state-required components that are administered using one-on-one technology, and the lack of that availability, almost impossible to complete these tasks appropriately or sometimes at all. So there remain many needs. To that end, we sincerely appreciate the patience and flexibility of our students and their families as we continue to navigate the new procedures adopted by our district. Thanks.
Thank you. Just to clarify, as my understanding is that we have devices for all students that need them. Max, is that correct?
That is
I'm getting a thumbs up from Max, so I don't believe that there's an issue. If someone needs a device, they should talk to their teacher, their building administrator, and we can get them fixed up. Moving on to Student Board Representative Report.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Student Council chaired a Wear Red Day for students and faculty on February 5th to kick off Heart Month. We were able to donate $150 to the American Heart Association. And after a beneficial long weekend, students are looking forward to upcoming events that are being planned by our administration, including bunny games, which are a replacement to reindeer games, and our prom. Students are proud of our winter sport teams making it to playoffs, both girls and boys basketball, and our ASL team winning the small school state championship for the second year in a row. And a wonderful idea came to today for the senior and junior lunch to have leprechaun shakes for anyone who bought a lunch today, and 10 lucky students won $10 Sheets gift cards. So little things like that are student camaraderie as we head towards the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a few good notes is, since we came back to 5 days, obviously we're not going to have 5 this week, but seems like with all the students returning that were online, it's a lot more fun. Everybody seems to be enjoying this, getting more done in class because the teachers aren't having to worry as much about recording their lessons, and I know that they still have to do a lot of work on that, but it seems to be going a little bit better, like it should be. And another good thing we can look forward to is the prom, as she mentioned before. So a lot of students are pretty happy about that. So.
Thank you. Thank you both. Business Manager's Report. Stephanie.
Thank you. Let's see, what do I want to start with? I was going to talk about Finance Committee dates, but I figure now that we have a discussion on the agenda, we'll talk about the dates at that point in time. I did want to bring up or ask the board's opinion. We do have a COVID or a CARES Act grant, PCCD, second round on the board agenda to be approved. I believe, Donna, did you put this in there, the actual grant in their folders? Okay. On an email last week, you were sent like the big packet that actually was the whole grant. It was decided in January to bring all the grants to the board to have those approved. In past, we did the one approval for grants, I believe in July, and Donna can correct me if I'm wrong. So I just want to let you know that that is on the agenda for this time. It's a PCCD round one grant. It was for $22,156. We can talk about that more when it comes to that motion if you guys have questions. I do want to ask, though, on the ESSERS 1 grant that we wrote in July, and we have spent most of that grant. There are items that are in that grant that I still have some money left over to spend. When we wrote the grant, it was for PPE, instructional equipment or services, and cleaning supplies. That's what the grant was approved for. We had to do a budget revision. The budget revision was approved for. I just want to make sure that I am approved to continue to use that money to buy those items. It's not things that I'm going to know in a month. I'm going to have to purchase things as available. For example, if I need more masks or we need more cleaning supplies, we buy them as we need them. So looking for you, are you okay if, since the state approved that grant for those items, and I had emailed you that, I believe a month or two ago, and then I emailed you again with that attached to it. So I don't know if you want to have a discussion or... It's $19,000 for that grant. Let me find that. That grant was $225,687. We spent to date $206,554. I have $19,132 to spend. And I just want to add the task force was a big part of creating that grant and asking them what we felt we needed for the district as we began school. So those items were created by that group. So I'm not sure if you still have your list or if you want me to go over the list or what discussion you want to have regarding this.
Couldn't we have our budget committee, because I seen on the agenda, we're going to set the budget committee, look through this along with, at the same time, make the recommendation forward after the budget committee has went through it?
Well, for that specific one, I may need to purchase before the next board meeting, cleaning supplies or PPE. So if you want, I will not, but I just want clarification. I mean, later I can pay for that out of general funds and then put it towards the grant. But if there's something comes up we need within that month, I guess that's what I'm looking for. I believe this one is, I had to check, but I believe this one is September 2021.
So if I understand, you're saying that we have till September to spend the grant money? Did I hear that right? I think it makes sense to do what Dave was suggesting, is that we have a chance to get a couple board members to look at it, to give some feedback, work with administration, and then that way we have an informed decision on how we're going to spend the grant money. That's how I would suggest that we do it. But I think we could talk about that in detail on new business item A. Is that okay with you, Stephanie, if we talk about that then?
Okay. Another question I wanted to ask, in recent board meetings, it was brought up last year or the year before, they wanted to go out to bid for all the vocational classes. We've been doing some research and getting that out, but we don't always buy all of our shop supplies at the beginning of the year. If I request for bid and we accept a bid, I buy all that product from that bid. I'd rather request for quote because it's under our threshold to request for bid. I didn't know if the board agrees with that, because I'd rather not, if the teachers agree with me, I'd rather not go out and buy all the stuff I don't need, because they change within the year of different projects that they want to do. So I want to know if...
Are the people we're buying off of, are they CoStar bidders anyways?
Not all of them are co-stars. But that's not an issue. If you're over a certain threshold, I don't have a figure right in front of me, it's around 10,000, then I have to have 3 quotes. Over 20, I don't have the number in front of me, I have to have the bids, request for bids. We're not over that 20,000 some figure. I wanted the board's discussion, I wanted to have a discussion with them before I talk to the teachers and see which route to go. I wanted, if I have to request for bid, then I have to advertise, and it does cost us. If I request for quote, I can send it out to different companies, not have to advertise. I didn't know if you guys have a preference.
It makes sense. I mean, I know you don't have to advertise under things. Also, if you do on the CoStar, you don't have to advertise.
Correct.
So that's 2 things that, again, I think that the finance committee is going to set one up to look at that and see what's best and work together with administration on how to do it.
Okay. I think that's all the specifics I had. If anybody has any questions, you can ask me. I think we'll get into more conversations when we talk about the finance committee. Thank you. Okay, I'm next. All right, today was Leprechaun Day, and there were lots of little leprechauns running around, and I have my lucky t-shirt on, and I will tell you that I really feel that the CL students were lucky today. This was our first day without a remote Wednesday, and I wanted to let the board know that I have a 3-page activities of our efforts from the administration to support our teachers with this 5-day transition from when we met March 3rd to today. And that list is there. And I want to refer to The first item on the list is that I go daily with each administrator to the buildings, and the reason for that is to show my support and to also find out if teachers need anything, find out how things are going. And I just wanted to share a couple of things with the community about how it has been yesterday and today on my visits. Many comments that I heard were, it felt like the first day of school. It was loud. It was what the hallways should sound like. Hey, how you doing? Where have you been? I haven't seen you forever. Those kinds of things that it really did feel like the first day of school. Lots of happy students all the way around. And I talked to a few teachers, and a couple of the teachers said, was pleasantly surprised that all of my students were attuned in to my 7:30 synchronous lesson. 7:30 we have the seniors or the high school students start, and both of these teachers said that if they weren't in person, on live. And they said hi to their friends, and things are great. And I will tell you that those teachers looked very relaxed and very relieved, and just as happy to see the kids as they were for each other. At the elementary school, when I was walking around, I ran into a teacher, and she goes, "Oh, I had a computer glitch today." And as we were talking, another teacher came by and said, "Oh, was it so-and-so?" And she goes, "Yeah, I think it was." And she said, "Well, I know how to fix that." So she explained to her as I stood there. And so then I was going in to get Mrs. Taylor to go walk. And the father of this parent, of this child that had the computer glitch, had called Mrs. Taylor to not be happy about this. So it's just wonderful to see around, because what I was able to do was to tell Mrs. Taylor, I just had a conversation with the teacher and I know exactly what happened. Call her. So she did, and called the parent, and he was impressed that she knew what was going on with that, and it was just because we were visible in the building. And the very best was, sorry Lauren, I got to say a little bit more about the Shamrock Shakes. Lauren and I sat down weeks ago trying to think of ideas to get the seniors excited and to show that they are very special, and to finish their last 9 weeks on a very good note. And one of the items that we had come up with was on St. Patrick's Day, we could have Shamrock Shakes and hide in the shakes, just for the juniors and seniors, little leprechauns, 4 little leprechauns, and whoever got those shakes with those leprechauns needed a $10 Sheets card. So it was all ready and all set, and our cafeteria monitor, our cafeteria lady, Rachel, is now in our office. So she had a person there today, whom I know, and he's a great person, great guy, and I go down there with my Sheets cards, and oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It was awesome. So we couldn't find little leprechauns, so we used lucky ducks. So we put ducks into them. So finally one of the first students gets a duck, and they are all excited, washing it off, bringing it up, high five, everybody claps. The second duck, everybody, it was so wonderful. They were so excited. They loved it. They clapped for each other. They high-fived. Woohoo! So we finally got 4, is what we had. So I said, well, guys, we found the 4 already. Did you have fun? Yeah, blah, blah. So the man who was in for Rachel today, Dan, he looks at me and he says, "What do you mean 4? And I said, I have 4 cards, 2 for each grade level, and we found the ducks already. What do you mean 4? I'm like, Dan, what do you mean? He goes, I put 10. I put them in 10 of them, and we have plenty more left. And there were kids in line still to get lunch. They had to buy a lunch, which is free anyway, and get a shake. I'm like, okay. So I went back out to the crowd, and I said, guess what? We have 6 more ducks. And they, woo, woo, woo. So it was so exciting. So there were 10 students that received a $10 sheet card for participating, and I think that would be something that would be fun for all different kind of occasions. But I had to share that because there's always a story when you work with Dan, if you know him, and that's what happened today. So I do want to personally thank publicly, thinking of lunchtime, we had a community member wish to thank the teachers, the staff, and the administration at CL working together to get our children back in school 5 days a week. And this person treated everyone in the district to a free lunch on yesterday. So I wanted to publicly thank that. The person wants to be anonymous, but I know many people have said thank you and wanted me to share that. So out to the crowd and who's listening, thank you very much. And now I'd like my administrators to share some positives from the last 2 days.
So at the elementary level, one of the biggest positives, and Amy started to talk a little bit about that this week, is I have been very, very visible in the building, but I have had many opportunities to see the teachers, the staff, the students, the substitutes, just fully invested and engaged in making it work, figuring it out if there's a problem solving, supporting each other. And especially welcoming back students who have been in person. It's been like very heartwarming. Some of those little faces that I haven't seen for several months, and to see the way that they interact with their peers, the ones that have returned. And we've gotten back nearly half of those students who were remote, just a little bit over half. So it's been a positive. Like almost a homecoming situation for a lot of our students this week.
You've got to hear a lot of what went on at the high school, but I just want to re-stress it on the centering of the idea of connection. Just so much of what the staff and the students are doing to reconnect with the students that have been here, but also the students are coming back now. From the last meeting we had, we were at about 111 students that were remote. Today we're at 47. We still have a couple more that we're considering coming back in the next couple days. But it's just great watching the students, as Lauren said, regaining the life of seeing the prom, seeing the bunny days. One of my greatest ones is wherever he is. His student came up and was just so thankful to see the custodian, and he was just telling me how it was so great. Like, he goes, I forgot where I was. Like, and this is a kid who was 9th grade, couldn't remember where his classroom was. The custodian helped him where his class was, and it's that kind of connection that's being reformed here in the high school.
It was nice to get back into the swing of things. It was definitely business as usual in the life skills classroom today. Mrs. McCall and the Lion's Den Cafe had their St. Patrick's Day meal today that was prepared by students, and that went extremely well. I stopped in this afternoon, and the students were exhausted, so they should be sleeping well. Mrs. McCall, however, appeared as though she was 16 years old again and had all kinds of energy. She was incredibly enthusiastic about how successful it was. That was really nice. The other thing that I'd like to mention is just a shout out to the support staff. The paraprofessionals in general, the support staff in general, have been absolutely phenomenal through all of this. We've been very short-handed with paraprofessionals. They've been incredibly flexible, bouncing around and moving wherever I need them to move, whenever I need them to move, riding a van if I need them to ride a van, a number of different things, and never once a complaint, not one complaint. They just do what it is that is asked of them, and they've been amazing. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to them. They truly have been awesome.
Thank you all. Thank you all for the updates. Sorry.
Do you have the numbers for the elementary too? What is, like, how many?
43.
What?
40.
43 per med?
43. She's saying 43.
43 for K-6.
What was the number?
Like, when prior. FCR day changes. The last meeting was right around 100, I think, 105.
She's at 100, give or take, maybe a little
Yeah,
more.
105, 111.
So we're at 96. That includes cyber kids, we're not, right, or cyber kids?
No, that doesn't include those. The students are full-time cyber and then mental at the high school. Amy wanted me to she was reminding me to point out, we do have dates for the prom. Prom is scheduled to be Friday, May 7th, and graduation is scheduled for Thursday, May 27th.
Where are they having the prom?
The prom will be here in our gymnasium.
Prom is here in the gymnasium on Friday, May 7th.
Yes.
And graduation will be Thursday, May 27th at the Moonlight Drive-In. We had Clarion University booked. We were on that, Donna and I, early on. However, we received documentation from them that they are not going to be able to accommodate us for graduation. So Jim Lupa reached out to me, and I thought, well, great idea. That's what we have planned.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda, 13, executive session announcement. There was no executive session. Next item, item 14, is public comment. Is there anyone wishing to make public comment? Going once, going twice. No public comment. Okay, moving on to new business. Item A. My proposal for you all to consider is I'd like to appoint a finance committee. And I'd like the finance committee to do three things. One, I'd like the committee to work with Stephanie on the annual budget. Second, I'd like them to work with Stephanie and the administration on the granting, the various grants that we have. I thought it would be useful to us as a district and us as a board to have a little bit more of an organized process where we have some considerations, some background before we just vote on things. I thought it'd be more informative if we have a committee that can spend the time and develop issues for us. The third item I'd like the committee to look into is the issue of a building fund for the financing of building projects, which feeds into the next item on the agenda. But obviously, I can't speak for everyone on this board, but I'm not interested in raising taxes. So I want to live within my personal opinion, but I need to know what those means are. And I want that committee to develop sources of funding, whether it's grant funding or the bond that is maturing and whether we get reissuing the bonds. I'd like them to explore that and then recommendations back to the full board with proposals and recommendations. I have asked Rebecca Allison, our vice president, to chair that committee. I've also asked Dave Eggleton, as a prior president, if he would serve on it. I'd like to ask Larry Jamieson, with your prior experience, would you be willing to serve on that committee? Is there anyone else? Now, before I ask this question, so everyone understands, the committees will all be open, so including board members, you can go. So you don't have to be a member of the committee to attend. Anybody can attend. They'll be advertised, they'll be open to the public. That being said, is there anyone else on the board who wishes to participate and would like to be included in that committee? Gary? Anybody else? Kathy? Good. All right. Again, Rebecca, I'll ask you to chair that and get the ball rolling, have the meetings and get with Stephanie and be ready to report back at the next meeting preliminarily what you can find out. Is there any other comments or discussion on item A?
I guess regarding the dates, once you vote on this, am I getting with Rebecca on these dates? Or do you want to do, because we have to advertise on the finance committee dates. So I guess, when do you want to make the decision on dates when we're meeting?
I'd like you to work with Rebecca to coordinate it, and she'll coordinate with the committee members and whatever you guys decide. Amy and I have talked and worked with Donna to get it published and set, and whatever you guys need to do to meet your timing. You've got all kinds of deadlines and everything. Okay, nothing else on item A. Item B, I'd like to appoint an ad hoc building committee. Again, this feeds into what I just said a minute ago. I believe buildings are in need of some renovations, repairs, etc. And as we all know, I think we need to have a gym over at the elementary school. And again, as I said before, we as a district need to figure out what that path forward looks like, what the options are, so we can best utilize and be good stewards of our resources. I'd like to chair that committee, but I'd like to open it up and see who would like to serve on that committee with me to meet with administration and obviously work with the finance committee as well too, to coordinate, again, to understand what the funding is that's available, and work with Bob Coleman too to determine what our immediate needs are and develop a plan. I understand we've had plans in the past. I think we need to pick up where that was left off and then go forward, modify the plans, and then look at what our funding might be with the CARES Act, or whether it's CARES or some other acronym, and move forward. So is there anyone else that would be interested in serving on that committee with me? Roger, Joe? Okay. And again, same as before, all committees, what I said about committees applies to all of them. They're all going to be open to the public, so even if you didn't sign up now, if you're free that night or whenever we meet, you want to come in, everyone welcome. Go ahead, you can explain your reasoning. Amy had a suggestion too, and I thought it was worth discussing, so I'll turn it over to Amy to make another suggestion.
I would like the board to consider appointing a transportation committee because the transportation contract is up this year, and there are a lot of things we need to consider, especially with COVID and any remote snow days we may use, just a lot of undecided questions we still have. Along with possibly doing a new contract. There is a possibility we could extend it a year and then move on from there, but that's a decision I would like the committee to be a part of. So I would be happy to chair that if the board is good with having one of those.
Yes, Dave.
Now, we've got 3 different committees and 9 board members. I think it'd be a lot easier, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from being on any committee, but if each one of us, 3 of us took each one, you only have 3 equal scheduled conflicts. So it's a lot easier to set up meeting dates. So, I mean, it's up to you, and like we said, anybody's welcome, but when you're trying to set up dates that don't conflict with other people's work schedule, I know I have conflict, I know Roger does, with different days, like I'm available Tuesday, Wednesday, a week, where, Roger, Tuesdays is tough, Kathy's, her schedule varies. So I think if we break down and put 3 board members on each committee, it would be a lot easier to set up these committee meetings so that everybody you could have time to meet without spending much time deciding when you're going to meet.
I don't disagree. I have no problem with that if people are receptive to that. But I also think at some point too, you have to pick your date and meet. And if 2 out of the 3 can do it, the other one can't. If time's of the essence, you got to meet and get it done. So, but I have no problem with that. Is there anyone that would be interested in serving on the transportation committee with Amy? I would appreciate if Amy would head that, if you would chair that. Is there other members who would like to serve on that?
They need someone, I'll help.
Okay.
I can do that. In fact,
Anyone else? Well, his availability is suspect apparently because he hasn't been at the last few meetings, so I'd be reluctant to appoint him to anything because I want to sign him up for doing more meetings. It seems like that's an issue for him. Anyone else that would be interested? Rebecca? Yeah, Joe, you want to be on the building committee, right? Correct? Okay. Well, we can start out. I mean, these are ad hoc committees, so once they fulfill their purpose, they're gone. It's not like it's going to be a standing committee forever. I just think we have a lot of issues pending, and it'd be more efficient if we do a divide and conquer approach rather than try to have just the administration bring it to us or me as board president. I can tell you right now I don't have time to do all of these issues, and you guys have skills and resources that I don't, so I'd like to draw on the whole group and get the best out of everyone we can. All right, so we'll leave the transportation committee. I guess it's you, Amy, Gary, and Rebecca for now. And obviously if Corey, he's not here, if he decides he wants to be involved, I don't think Rebecca would be brokenhearted if he stands in your place, correct? Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments, discussion on those 2 items?
I don't know if this is the time to bring this up, but deal with our, the budget money down with our sports program. I know we talked a little bit about maybe with some of our outdoor sports to save some money of putting, so we're not changing money back and forth with Clarion area of maybe combining all our outdoor sports, like our football. I don't, maybe down the road looking at a committee for that. I think instead of just changing money for girls soccer, they have girls, we have boys, that we're all, instead of changing all this money, that just eliminate that part of the expense. And I don't know if this is something we should talk about with the money, with the budget.
My honest feedback would be I like your idea. I'm not opposed to it, and I certainly would like to not have to write the deck. That's a good, I like that idea. I support that. My preference would be that we focus on these other issues first before we go into that. Just because I think we're all going to be, our time's going to be consumed with these other meetings. That'd be my thought, but does someone else feel different? They can share now. Dave?
I'm a big fan of doing this also, Gary, but right now I think we need to get our own house cleaned up and taken care of, and that's what we're doing. I'm against committees, and I've made that open ever since. But I know there's enough right now that and that's why I made a suggestion we split up into 3s, but that if we don't break into committees and get things done, we're going to be sitting here in May doing the same thing we're doing now. So I agree with you 100%, Gary, but the bottom line is we got to see where we can get our budget straightened out, our grant funding, and things like that. And I think that's our direction we need to go first, and then start the other discussion after that, once we get our own stuff caught up.
I just thought, just to get some ideas.
That's a good idea. Anyone else want to speak on this? Larry, you're unusually quiet.
The one thing I would say about sports, I think generally speaking, that's a good idea. I think the one thing I would say about sports, I think generally speaking, that's a good idea. I think, don't have anyone that plays baseball, but I know that CL's baseball program is very strong, and Clarion-Aries baseball program is very strong. So I don't know that they would necessarily know. I think a lot of down to the amount of participants, which is what happened in football. So I think that might be the main reason. I agree, I'm all for saving money, believe me, but that's the main driver.
Right, and I think Gary's idea of a committee would be the way to address it. When the time comes, I think we would do a committee, and those are the type of things we look at, is cost and participation and that kind of thing, to see where it makes sense.
And I can add that I know that school districts that have done this and are doing it, you have so many participants, and then if that you don't exchange money, and then if there are more, then it's billed like per that much of those students. So it works, it makes sense.
Okay, if no one has anything else to add on that, let's move down through our agenda. Item C, approval of the National School Lunch Program through Nutrition, Inc., July 1, 2021 through June 30th. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion approved.
Second. Motion second, any discussion? This requires a roll call vote. Donna, roll call vote, please. Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item D, you can see on there the lunch prices.
Make a motion be approved. Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Another roll call vote, Donna, please.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yes. Motion passed. Item E, consideration for approval of Gen Wine as an English language arts long-term, beginning approximately a little bit ago, March 8th in the past through May 28, 2021. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please, Donna.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passed. Item F, consideration for approval of Adrian Weber as a guest teacher, day-to-day substitute for the 2020-2021 school year, pending receipt of all required legal documentation.
Make a motion approved. Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? Comments, questions? Not hearing any. Donna, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion passed. Item G, several supplemental contracts. You can see those on your agenda in front of you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion approved.
Is that a second? Thank you, Kathy. A motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please, Donna.
Yes.
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 Motion passed. H, the Riverview Intermediate Unit budget that Rebecca alluded to earlier. It's a little bit lower than last year. CL's portion likewise slightly lower, $12,190.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion or comment? Not hearing any. Donna, roll call vote, please.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed. Item I. I'm going to ask a question on this, and so if you don't have the answer, I guess we can work around it, but can you tell me what the amount of the funding is that we're being asked to approve for them? Roughly estimate? You say 3,000? If it's 4,000? Okay. They're saying approximately 3,500. She said less, I added more onto it, but 3,000, 3,500.
How many students would be going?
No, this
This is,
How many teachers would be going?
this is to train 2 teachers. The student assistance program is a state mandated program. And it is to identify students who are having struggles in different areas. Home, life situation, mental health, academics, it goes the broad spectrum, and then funnel it to the proper channels through our school board to outside agencies. And you have to be trained in order to be on the team. You have to be trained by the state. And so we are adding 2 members to our team in the elementary.
2?
2.
Okay, that's,
Oh, Donna. I'm sorry.
The question was if we could use CARES Act funds, and I guess I wanted.
So this would meet an ESSERS or CARES Act, different grants, the requirements. So our question to you is, if you approve them to go, you can approve it as general funds, or we can use CARES Act, but that would be in the grant that we are going to discuss for ESSERS 2. So to throw that there, that I would apply that to ESSERS 2, or we could use general funds money.
that's one for that also, correct?
I cannot use ESSERS 1 because that grant was written in July and I don't have training in that grant, and I already did a budget. I can't use it for that type of service, that type of training.
So if the board approves it with either CARES fund or general fund, at that point, we can make a decision from there how we're going to do it.
Correct, correct.
Now, I have a question also, with the subs that will be needed to cover the teachers, can you use, since that's going to be maybe covered under the CARES, can the subs that are used for this also come out of the CARES Act?
Yes.
Good.
So that has to be in our conversations when we talk about the ESSERS money.
Nathaniel, I'd like to amend that motion.
and before you do that, I'll tell you, it looks to me like the total cost is $1,770. $1,770, not the $3,000 that we had estimated before.
I'd just like to amend the motion to read approval of CARES Act funds or general fund. Just leaves us open.
I'm sorry, what'd you say, David, at the end there?
Approval of CARES Act funds or the general fund, that leaves us open to wherever we want to pull the money from.
Where's the conference at this week?
Du Bois. Du Bois.
Oh, you go.
Luigi's Villa. That sounds- Okay. I'm going to do, Dave wanted to amend, everyone understand, you're making a motion to amend?
I'm making a motion to amend it to read CARES Act funds or general fund.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? I don't know if I'm allowed to ask for discussion. We're just going to do a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, motion passed. So item I is amended. Donna, do you have the amendment? Okay. Hold on. Okay. Just a reminder, we need to use, when I scolded Rebecca earlier for this, I have to scold everybody equally. So if we're talking, we need to make sure we grab a microphone because the YouTube land won't be able to hear us.
The band, do I need a microphone?
Yeah, I can't hear you, Dave. I don't know what you just said.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion, a second, and on item I. What's that? I believe Joe was the second. Okay, Donna, roll call vote, please, on item I.
Yes.
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 Motion passed. Item J, let me ask about this. Stephanie, this is what you were alluding to earlier, correct? That this is the latter portion of grant funding that you all obtained last year? No?
I guess you guys will see there's several different grants that were under CARES Act and then ESSER's funds. This, I was talking about the ESSER 1 earlier. This is the PCCD grant, which is second round. And just to make note, if you guys, when the discussion was came up about all the other grants, because we have never approved the grants separately before, and because there's so many ESSER grants and CARES Act grants, the board wanted to approve those. Dave Shermer had reached out to me and said, you know, we want to approve those, and I said, how is this process, how do we need this to work? Because some of these grants we had to write within a short period of time. The PCCD Round 2 grant was a grant that we wrote before that conversation occurred. It was wrote in January. Am I getting them mixed up? No, this one was wrote in January. So we haven't spent any of these funds. So in order to approve this grant, the way I understood Dave Shermer wanted me to approach this was to bring it to the board and approve what we wrote the grant for. But if we're discussing this in Finance Committee, these funds do not need to be used until September 30th, 2022. So I am fine if you decide to take this off, discuss it in the Finance Committee meeting, and go from there.
I don't have a microphone, but I make a motion to table it.
Just before you do that, I'm not going to get in the way of your motion. We'll see if there's a second. But I wanted to respond to the question just for the benefit of seeing if anyone else has a different perspective. My thoughts would be is that if the grant hasn't been written yet, it seems to me like the board would want to have, the committee would have some input in what the administration staff, whoever's writing the grant, whatever you're spending your time to write the grant for, if it's going to limit what the funds can be used for because the grants are specifically limited, the board would look at it before the time is spent to apply for the grant. If it's a situation where we have large federal dollars in one of those letters that you said earlier as far as the Corona stuff, that I think the board wants to be involved in before it's spent on the backside. Does that make sense?
Just to make note, some of these grants, most go ahead of time. This particular grant, we did not have, we only had like 48 hours to figure out what we wanted to spend it on. We didn't have a lot of time. We didn't realize, and some other schools were in the same boat, that this one was due. So it was beforehand. And when I talked to Dave, I said, what if I get in a pinch and there's things that we have to have into the state, you can change them. You can have a budget revision then where do I stand? Where do Amy and I go from there? Do we submit it, because it has to be submitted, and then bring it to the board? And then that's where we thought. But our intention was, even before that conversation occurred, when Amy brought up the ESSERS 2 grant that is over 900 some thousand, there was no way that we were writing that grant without the board.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I understand that you don't have any issue to the suggestion of tabling it. We have a motion on the floor to table item J. Is there a second to that motion? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on item J and the motion to table it? All right, I'm going to do a voice vote on the motion to table. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried. Item A is tabled. Okay, please take a look down through your agenda. Items K through S are non-roll call votes. So take a minute and look through. If there's something you want to pull out and discuss separately, let me know. We'll deal with it separately. Otherwise, I propose to lump them together and do a voice vote on all together.
Okay, I'd like to pull up the school calendar.
Let's see, item L.
L.
Anyone else?
What's the, I don't understand, what's the difference in the past, the employee? Did you ever have that before? I never noticed that.
Yes, the 12-month employees get vacation days that are counted, that they get off. They don't have to take a day against them. Yeah.
Okay, no one else wants to pull anything else out, so what we'll do now is a voice vote on items K and then M as in Mary through S as in Sam. Everyone understand?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved, second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, item L, consideration for approval of the 21-22 school calendar. It's in your packet there. Is there discussion on that?
Yeah, the flex days you have marked, what are they?
Those are half days where students go home and the teachers stay. And we put those in there specifically for around the time of the marking period ending so that they have that afternoon to work on grades. It's not a FIDS day. It's a half 2-hour early day. They go home 2 hours early? Yeah.
The other question I had is, and I know that this is every student, because it wasn't my boys when they were in school. What if we, I know you go into the snow days, what if we don't use them? Instead of going with the day off in the spring, you just did the school year sooner in May?
We talked about that. Dawn and I sat and did this. Also, just for your information, it's good information, the other 6 Clarion County superintendents also got together and we did a great big spreadsheet of who's doing what in days, because with the Career Center, we like to try to coordinate with that. And a couple of things with that happened this past Friday and Monday. If we would have not, when we did our remote snow days, those days were supposed to be make-up snow days, and we could have gone to school Friday and Monday, and the year would have been backed up 2 days. I will tell you that it was a wonderful time to have a break. We needed a break. So I'm glad we had Friday and the Monday. And when Dawn and I were looking at this, same thing. It's a long time from January to March 25th to have another day off. And I know it sounds crazy, but you know how it is, and everybody's in the winter and cooped up and all those things. So I still like that idea of keeping it as a day off, but that's something you can discuss. The other thing that is something you need to think about if you're going to do that is you want to set graduation. So if you move school, and we can have a snow day in April. We've had that. So if you move that, people want to know way before that. And that would change. You want to have school be done a week before graduation, is what I'm saying. Do you see what I'm saying? But this is a draft. It can be changed, however.
Amy, my question is, you talked about work schools, so is it your understanding that every school is going to present the same exact calendar, or there are certain key dates you have to work around and everybody does what they want as far as beginning of the year, end of the year, spring break, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we try to accommodate and do some of the same days. Some schools put no snow days in, some put 2 in, some put 3 in, some put 5 in. It's just how you like it as a school district and a school board. Well, the Career Center, the kids end up having to make up snow days that the Career Center has. That's what happens with that. There are school districts that are doing like 2 snow days, like actual snow days, no work, nothing, and then doing 3 FIDS days, which I will be applying for, and that's like the remote snow days that we had. And next year you have to apply for them. This year we were able to do them, everybody that had a remote program, because what it is. FIDS is for snow days, so that you plan ahead, and when you have a snow day, the teachers have what they're going to do. It could be a generic lesson, it's already done, and you do it. If we had power go out and we had to be out of school, we could use a FID day and not have to make that up because we'd have the programming ready. And some are doing like that, 2 snow days and then 3 FIDS days. It's all on how you like it. We've done it all different ways.
What do you guys think as a board? Do you want to approve it as presented? Do you want to table it and do more research on it? What do you guys think?
I just want to get I don't know what the rush is.
Make sure you use your microphone. You can get in trouble.
The rush in
This county to get out before Memorial Day every year. The last week of May and June, I've kept track for 20 years. It's lousy. And the kids end up in these hot classrooms. Now we're on clear back to, the 23rd, 25th of August. It's so hot. I don't know why we can't push that start to the 31st of August and go through the 30th. I don't know what the push is in this county to get out before Memorial Day. It's usually lousy weather anyhow. And I think isn't a lot of the spring sports still in the finals, even in the first week of June, like for baseball and...
Gary, that made me think of something. Football. I don't know. Is that Brad? Is Brad out there in the audience? Football now starts earlier, and they have a scrimmage usually the first weekend. Is there a scrimmage or a game? I think there's a game that last Friday in August.
Which is it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's Friday in August.
Oh, there you go. And so if you're not in school at all that week, the kids, then you have a game already and there's no pep rally or excitement or, get together, yay, let's go team kind of thing, like the kids aren't here. So they have a football game already without having school started. That's a lot of reason, last couple years, that they've been moved back. And you're right, Clarion County, although it's not just Clarion County now, it's a lot of the other counties, because of football, being moved back to start earlier.
Anybody else? Dave, you wanted to pull it out, do you?
I'm open, I mean, I just had some questions on it, that's why I pulled it out. I'm open way, I just had questions on, what the kids like to get out early, or like Gary said, I can remember Lynn Heppel rule, someday, we're gonna start after Labor Day.
Well, I know Venango County starts later, and the county south of us, it is just miserable. I mean, my classroom, I mean, it was so bad when we had to get out of school early. We had to get out of school early because the rooms were like 102 degrees. It's just miserable, even with the fans do nothing, because we've shut up all the windows anymore, if you have two little windows. It's just, I know, even the Clarion pool, you can't even use the pool in town because it's always cold and rainy the first week of June. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, the kids could still be enjoying some nice weather in the summer. We're sitting in these hot climates. I just think, what's the rush? Early.
I make a motion to approve it as a draft calendar, Nathaniel. Second that motion?
What's the impact of having it be a draft? What is that?
Well, it says draft right on it. I mean, we still have the option to change down the road.
Even if you
What's that?
even if you approve it now, you can change it.
Right, that's what I meant. That's why
So
they
you're
call
saying
it
to
draft
approve it.
calendar when they put it together.
Got it. Dawn and I will give anybody that wants to do this. Anybody that wants to do this can do this, because I can't tell you, we had 10 different calendars and different dots, and it's crazy. Everybody hates this. All superintendents hate doing the calendar. And we always do it in January. We start, to get it here by March.
Okay, I've got a motion approved from Dave, and I believe Joe seconded. Any further discussion? Probably not. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carried.
Motion for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment has been made. Is there a second? Is there a second on the motion to adjourn? Sure. I'm sorry. Roger, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion adjourned.